After the layout, we will now go to the dimensions. So to do that, there are two options as well. First is to look for the annotate tab and click this small arrow. Or you can type D and press enter. So here you will see the styles that are currently in your dimension style manager. Here is the preview of each style and the options for creating a new style of design or dimensions. So we will now first create a new dimension style. So to do that, just click the new tab. So you will be asked for the name of the dimension style. So I will name this as dimension. For the start with, it is your basis or your guide for your new dimension style. So I will use the standard. So you will be getting the properties of the standard dimension style. And then you will be editing it. Here, the annotative, same with the text style, wherein once you put a dimension on the model drawing and you scale your layout, the dimension will adopt the scale of your layout. So since, as mentioned earlier, that I do dimensioning and text on layout, I don't need to check this. So for use for, uh, where will you use your dimension? Is it for all dimensions? Is it for linear dimensions, radius, and etc.? So I'll keep it all dimensions. Then click continue. Here in the new dialog box, you will see the lines, symbols and arrows, text, fit, primary units, alternate units, and tolerances. So we will start first with the lines. In lines, you will see the dimension lines and the extension lines. Here is the dimension line and this is the extension line. You will be asked for the color of your dimension line. So for my setup, or for my personal setup, I use the red. Since the default thickness of red is 0.1. For the line type, what kind of line are you going to use for your dimension line? So I'll use continuous line. For the line weights, I'll keep it by block. For the extend beyond text, this will activate once you were done editing your symbols and arrows. For baseline spacing, I'll put 7.5 millimeters. So this is the dimension at the top of your first dimension. Later you will see how the baseline will be used. So for the suppress, so suppress is used when your dimensions are too tight. So if I check this dimension line 1, it will be disappear. Meaning if your dimension is too tight, the dimension line 1 will disappear or will be suppressed. Same as with the dimension line 2. Okay. Next is the extension lines. So this is the extension line. You will be choosing the color of your extension line. If you're good with the by block, that's fine because that's your setup or your preference. So for me, I will look for a gray color. So I will choose index color 8. There. So it will become gray. So for I use gray because for visuals, it will not, I mean, like it's like invisible. So for when you print this, you can change naman the thickness of your extension line or the color. So next is the line type, extension line. So same as with the line type for the dimensions, I keep it continuous. Then for the line weights, I keep it by block. Suppress, same as with the dimension line. The extension line 1 will disappear if the dimensions are too tight. So extend beyond dimension lines, this is it. No, so it is 0.8 millimeters. So I will extend this to 1.5. Offset from the origin, offset of your extension lines from the object. So I'll do it in 3 millimeters. And this one, I keep it as is. So meaning, fixed length extension line. For example, I use 1. So it's only 1 millimeter. You can't extend your extension lines anymore since you fix the length of your extension lines. Next would be the symbols and arrows. So the first and second arrowheads of your dimension line, I use the architectural tech. So it depends on you what arrows would you like. For the leaders are used for putting specifications on your drawings. So here, the default is closed field. For my personal use, I use the user arrow. I'll make my own arrow for the leader. So for now, we will use the right angle. Next is the arrow size. The arrow size for your leader and your first and second arrowheads. So I use 1.5 millimeters for the arrow size. For the center marks, it's too small, so I will make it 1.5 as well. So you can see here in the preview what it would be look like while we are editing the symbols and arrows. So that's it for the symbols and arrows. We will proceed now with the text. So remember, we create a text in textile, which is the dimension. So we will be using that here. So textile is the dimension. So remember that our text height is 3 millimeters. So how about the color? I will change the color into yellow. If you choose the by layer, for example, your current layer is 0, the layer or the color of your text will become the color of your current layer. So if my current layer is AR walls, the color of this is the color of the AR wall. So it is cyan. So here I will designate a yellow color. Fill color means it's like your highlight. So there will be a color in your text. So I'll keep it none. Text height, you can change it since you use the dimension text style, wherein you already put the text height for your dimension text style. Fraction height, fraction height scale can be changed because of your text style. Draw frame around text. You will have a frame around your text. I like that. Next is the text placement. Text placement is where you will position your text. So for vertical, you'll position it above. In horizontal, center. We will keep the view direction from left to right. Offset from the dimension line. How far is your text from the dimension line? So I will put 1. Then text alignment. So how would you like your text to be aligned? Is it horizontal? This is the preview. If it's aligned with dimension line, that will be the output. If it's in ISO, it's the same. It's just that when your text is outside your extension line, it will align horizontally. So it will be placed here. So I'll keep it with aligned with dimension line. Next is fit. So the only thing that I will change here is the text placement. It should be over the dimension line, not beside the dimension line. So over dimension line with leader. If without leader, what will happen is that it's like it's floating. If with leaders, you will see an arrow here pointing to your dimension line and on your text. Next is primary units. I'll use the decimal. For the precision, 2 decimal points. Round off, I keep it here. For the decimal separator, it should be period. Next, for the alternate units and tolerances, I don't edit this anymore. No. So we're done with here. We're done here. So we'll press OK. There. So we will set this as current. Then we will close it. So in making a dimension on your plan, there are two options. Again, first from home, you have to click this fly out. So there are almost 8 options. So first, there is a linear, aligned, and angular. I use this mostly, linear and aligned. The rest is arc length, radius, diameter, ordinates, and jump. So to use the linear, you can click this linear icon, or you can type the shortcut command to DLI. So you will choose the first point and then the second point, or you can choose it here. So once we use the linear dimension, your dimension is in linear. Even this line is in diagonal form. So for example, okay, to continue the dimension, type DCO for dimension continue and press enter. So you will be selecting which dimension you would like to continue. So press S, you will select this, and there. So this is, so ganito yung mangyayari once na nag-dimension linear ka. Kahit even if this is in diagonal, your dimension is still in linear. There. So to use the dimension angular, or no, aligned, sorry, you have to type beam align. So what I will type is DAL for a shorter commands. So DAL, I have to click this there. So there. That is the dimension align. It can also be used to, same as with linear. There. So I will erase this first. So for the dimension angular, the shortcut command is dim angular. So dim angular. Dimang. Press enter. So you will measure here the angle of the two lines. Okay. So the angle is 135 degrees. Okay. So we'll erase this one. So in the dimension style manager, we saw the baseline spacing. So how will you use the baseline spacing? So type DBA and press enter. Select the dimension, or for your base dimension. So I will select this. You will see the dimension baseline is at the top of your first dimension. So the purpose of this is to measure the total length of the drawing. For example, I will measure this length up to here. So it becomes 4,450. So once you're done measuring it, it will provide another dimension baseline. So to cancel it, just press escape. Okay. You can also move your text, or I mean your dimension. There. You just click first the dimension line and the grip and move it upwards. You can also move the text of your dimension lines. There. You just have to click the grip and move it anywhere you want. You can also change the value of your dimension lines. So you have to double click the number, then delete it. So for example, I want it to be 6,000 millimeters or 6 meters. I can change it. So it's called override text. So you're overriding the value of your dimension lines. So we have to undo it. Now there's also a technique or a tip or tricks in which you can put a text on your dimensions. Later on, I will teach you that for the advanced uh, lesson for the AutoCAD. So for now, that's how you will do dimension lines. So next is the leaders. So same as with the text, there are two types of leader, which is the single line and the multi-line leaders. So to do that, just click this icon and they fly out. So if you click this, this is only for multi-line. So there. Since we are in ortho, we can do we can change the angle of the leader. So what we have to do is to click this polar tracking or F10. So we can change it to 45 degrees. So there. You can type now. So for example, 600 millimeters is 600 millimeter porcelain tiles. There. If you use the single line leaders, the properties is on the dimension style manager. If you use the multi-line, to use the multi-line leader, type QLE, press enter. On your command window, you will be asked to specify the first leader point or if you want to change the setting. So if you want to change the setting, type S. Here you can see the settings for the leader. So for the annotation type, you have mtext, copy and object, tolerance, block reference, and none. The only two type that I use here is the mtext and copy and object. If you want mtext, means multi-line. If you want a copy and object, okay, so we'll use it. For example, specify the first leader, then I will select this. Yeah, sorry. So you will just select the text. Then the annotation will have the same with this one. That's for the multi-line leader. So I'll erase it again. So for other settings, so type QLE, press enter, click or type S. So we will change it to mtext. So here in mtext options, I always use the always left justify. Annotation reuse, you can reuse the annotations of your leader. Of your leader. So leader lines, if you want it to be straight or in spline. So number of points, if you do this, since the default here is 3 points, so what will happen is the first point is here, this is the second point, and this is the third point. If you change this to 2 points, what will happen is like this. First point, second point, then you will have to type the text. Okay. So again, QLE, enter, S, enter. So we will change it to 3 points again. If you put no limit, I will try it. So this is what will happen. So you have to specify the first point, the second point, the third point, and you can specify other points. So how will you stop this is by pressing enter. And then you will be asked to write your text. For example, 300 mm by 100 mm wood vinyl. Enter, enter. That, yan yung mangyayari. So kapag naka multiline ka, yung properties mo din is parehas dun sa dimension style. Sorry, ang single leader is ganito itsura. Hindi siya naka-base pala dun sa dimension style manager mo. So I always use the multiline leader. Going back with the multiline leader, QLE, press enter, S, enter. For the attachment, tinuruan naman tayo kung paano maglagay ng specifications, right? So, kung mag-specify ka sa right side, dapat ang leader mo is or yung text mo, middle of top line. Parang ganito. Kapag nasa left, dapat middle of the bottom line. Nandito siya sa kabilang side. So, okay na tayo dyan. So, sa angle constraints, pwede mong ilagay kung anong angle siya. So, usual use is 45 degrees. Second segment is horizontal. So, this is what will happen. First segment is it is already 45 degrees. Second segment, horizontal. Then you can type your text. Okay, for example, enter, enter. There. So another use of leader is when you're going to put an arrow on your stairs or on your ramp. So I will erase this one. So that's all for dimensions.